Jen.
And I'm Jane.
And we're SpielMill.
And this is another of a series of top 10s that we're doing. Basically, we're looking at decade by decade, although the first video was everything pre-2000.
Yep.
So we did a pre-2000 going back to the 1800s and before. And then now we're going to do a top 10 for 2000 to 2009, the 2000s, the knots.
Yep. The knots, the naughty knots.
I know technically a decade goes from 2001 to 2010, but we're going 2000 to 2009.
Yes, we are.
So,
can you imagine if we did a top 10 for every decade before 2000? Some of the videos would be just like, I got nothing.
Yeah. I don't have 10 games for this decade.
I don't have any.
So,
but this one we do. So, yep. And this is a solid list.
Yeah, I think it's a really good list. And some real classics in here.
Yeah.
Some real classics.
Some I play a lot. Still. So, should we start with our honorable mentions? Because I know we both have some. Yeah. We can't stop at 10.
You know, we don't want to hurt any game's feelings. So by getting in honorable mentions, this way its feelings are not hurt.
I used to worry my stuffed animals would have their feelings hurt if I took one on vacation and not the others.
That's very sweet.
Yeah. So we don't want to hurt the game's feelings. So, all right. Why don't you start us off? What's your some of your honorable mentions?
Well, this is a game I think we both really enjoy, and it just didn't make my top 10, but it's a really good, fun game, and it's St. Petersburg. What a great game.
That didn't make your top 10?
No.
What?
It's a good top 10.
What?
It's full of good games.
What? Oh my God. Okay, well, I'm already, I don't know what to do with that. Okay.
Okay.
Scheisse. Well.
Scheisse.
Which is actually still swearing, because if Germans are watching, it's not like I censored myself. All right, well, my number, I don't know, whatever. One of my honorable mentions is a game we haven't played in a long time, but it was an early favorite of ours. It takes 3 to play, and I think we played it with our daughter a lot, and we haven't played it since it's just the 2 of us now, is Valdora.
Oh, yeah.
It's a classic pick up and deliver. It was an early game for me where I got to see like a new mechanism that I'd never seen before. And I really enjoyed it. And even though I haven't played it in a long time, it just kind of sits in there as a game that if we had 3 players and we wanted to play a game and somebody said Valdora, I'd be totally into it.
Yeah, that makes sense. That didn't quite make the cut for me, but I do enjoy that game.
All right, what's your next one?
My next one is a game that might have made my top 10 if we played it more, because it is such a good game. It's hard to get now, I believe, and that's Shadows over Camelot. This is a pretty cool game. I think one reason we don't get to the table more is it requires 3 players.
Yeah.
And so, you know, but it's a pretty cool game. It's got a trader mechanic, which isn't my favorite, to be honest, but the game itself works really well.
Yeah, that's a really good one. It didn't make my list. I've only played it a few times. I think, you know, it's one that you've played a lot more than me, but I have enjoyed it when I did. Well, my next honorable mention is not a great game, but it really was the foundation of my love of like party games and so games for social, and that's Apples to Apples. Okay. Played this a ton in the 2000s with the kids, with friends, with family, and it's you know, for me, it's been replaced by something like Monikers. Yeah. Right? But it's the same feeling. It's just like words, it's silly fun. It's a vehicle for laughter and enjoyment with your family. And so, yeah, Apples to Apples. All
right. My next one is a game. I'm a little surprised this didn't make my top 10. But I think it's because I haven't really played it in a while. But we do have the new version, so I'm very excited to play it, and it's Puerto Rico.
Yep.
So Puerto Rico is like just a great classic game, and with the troublesome theme. We got the new one, the Puerto Rico 1897, so we're excited to get that to the table.
Yeah, I think that might, it's not, well, I won't say anything, but that's going to change it for me as well. My next one is Il Principe. Again, haven't played it in a long time. It's a 2005 game, but this was an early board game, like hobby board game for me that I loved. And it has, I'm trying to remember the mechanisms now.
It's area control.
It's area control, which isn't our favorite, but there's some like blind bidding and negotiation. And I don't know, it just, again, It was early days. I had no idea that a board game could be like that. It blew me away and I just loved it. And I think it's a solid game. Probably not our type of game anymore, but because it was a, you know, one of my gateway games. It was one of the games that greeted me into the hobby.
Right.
It said, come in, don't worry. It's okay. It's safe in here. You're not going to go crazy or anything.
And it's a level of area control that we usually are okay with.
Yeah.
Like a little bit of just, you know, trying to manage getting the most control over the region, but not like, it's not combat. You know what I mean? We don't like combat.
Yeah.
So.
All right.
My next one, I'm surprised this didn't make my list. But you know, it's hard making a list, and that's Dixit. What a great party game this is. Fantastic party game. And it's just, I haven't played it in a while, so that might have hurt it. I've been sick, so we haven't had that many parties.
Yeah, that's true. We should get out the next time we have people over.
Yep.
Okay, my last honorable mention is it's also a party game and a dexterity-ish game, and that's Tumbling Dice.
Oh, good choice. Yeah.
That is some raucous fun. You're just throwing a whole heap load of dice and you're trying to make sure they don't fall off the edge, and you're scoring more, obviously, if you get them further down, less points if they're you know, at the top. So it's a little bit of dexterity to it, but we've just had a ton of fun with this game. We just had so much fun. So
yeah, it's a good choice. Just unpacked it actually the other day. So my last honorable mention is a game I've only played online. It's really hard to get now. There is a remake of it that's a little easier to get, I think, but that's Balloon Cup. Balloon Cup is a great game, great two-player game. It's a little cutthroat, and so I don't know, in person it may not work as well as it does online, but I feel like cutthroat games work a little better online. It's a little quicker, and you know, you feel a little less invested.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. All right, so now on to the top 10.
Woo, let's do it.
All right, I guess I'll go first.
Okay.
So my number 10 is, well, it's a series. Several of these are, but the 10 Days series. 10 Days in Africa, 10 Days in Asia, 10 Days in America, 10 Days in Europe, whatever. I think, so Africa and Asia are what we played the most, and they're probably my favorites. It's a simple game. It's a family weight game. We've played a lot with our daughter. She kills us every time. And it's just, you're basically collecting country cards for the area of the world. So if Africa, you're collecting cards that have the, you know, a country in Africa on them, and you're traveling and you're trying to create a route in Africa. And you can't change the order once you put them down. You can take one out and put one back in, but you can't change the order. So you get these 10 cards, and you're like, ooh, okay, I'm gonna start here and end here because I think I can make that route. And you're trying to manipulate it by getting new cards, maybe getting airplanes so you can fly somewhere. But it's just, it's a thinky game for something very simple. It's very clever, and I love the fact that you're learning about geography that we don't do a lot of coverage of in the US. You know, how much time did you spend on African or Asian geography when you were in school? Now, by this point, the maps, I'm sure, are really outdated, but some of the big countries haven't changed names, but it's still a great way to get yourself familiar with those continents in a fun game. And I'm such a nerd. I love to learn. I love a game that I learn and have fun with.
Right. All right, good choice. All right, so my number 10 is a game that was on your honorable mention list. So kind of a crossover, sort of, kind of, and that is Tumbling Dice. What a great dexterity game. And so I think my one complaint is that the quality of the board is a little bit subpar, and it gets a little bowed, and we're actually missing a peg, which we're going to have to figure out. But it's pretty cool. You flick the dice down, try to land them as far as possible. It's like shuffleboard in a way. Like, you try to land them as far as possible without them coming off. And then, but you can flick and knock other people's off, and, you know, like, or you can flick into someone else's so yours stays on at a very far point. We found you can play this with 2 players, you can play it with 10 players, you can play it with 12 players. And we got the extra dice sets when we ordered it so that we could do this. And so we've played it with like 10, 12 people. and it gets total chaos, but it's so much fun.
And people are knocking other people off the board. I mean, it's just so much fun.
Yeah, and it's like, you know, I mean, it is what it is. There's a fair luck quotient when you have that many players, but it's chaotic and just fun.
Yeah.
So it's really fun. So anyway, that's my number 10, and that is Tumbling Dice from Eagle Griffin Games.
And that was 2004. I should say the years, because that's actually really relevant when we're doing a decade list. And 10 Days in Africa, which is the one I put on my list, is 2003. 10 Days in Asia was 2007. So
it'll be interesting to see what years pop.
Yeah.
Pop, 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 pop.
All right. So my number 9 is also a dexterity game.
Oh.
And that's Pitch Car.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And so Pitch Car is just, you have these tracks.
Pitch Car was in the 90s.
Oh, you know what? I bet it is.
It was on our 90s list, both of us.
Oh, I screwed up. So the stunt race is 2008, and I saw it, and I was like, I love this game. So I guess my 11 was my 10 was Tumbling Dice, and my 9 is 10 Days in Africa. What's your number 9?
Okay. Sorry to throw a curveball at you.
No.
But it was on both of our top 10 lists when we did it pre-2000. So
yeah, you're right. I don't know why I didn't think of that.
Okay.
Whoops.
Well, my number 9
Pitch Car is really fun though.
is a game called Carcassonne. And in my case, Carcassonne the City, I really like. And so Carcassonne is a simple tile laying game. I think Carcassonne, especially the base game, Carcassonne is super intuitive. It's very intuitive to draw a tile that has a road on it, extend a road, put a meeple down. Really intuitive, really simple. But also it's very tactile. Tile building are very tactile. So if you like tactility, is that a word?
Sure.
Carcassonne really meets the needs. I love Carcassonne the City. Now, I haven't played a lot of the different variations of Carcassonne, so there might be another version that I like even more. Like, I know there's Carcassonne the Castle, there's different versions, but I really like the wall aspect of Carcassonne the City. Not only is it fun for gameplay, but you also get, like, you're taking pictures at the end of the game because it looks so cool.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So, yeah, that's, I think Carcassonne's a classic. I'll play Carcassonne pretty much anytime, you know. I don't know. It's my number 9, Carcassonne the City.
Excellent. All right. Well, my number 8 is from the year 2000. So luckily we're doing it that way. And it is the Rainer Knizia classic Lord of the Rings.
Nice.
Which I have the feeling we'll hear more about later. But we've played this a lot with the kids. This is just so much fun. It's a cooperative game. You are really, have we won? I don't think we've won with the kids. Maybe we've won with just the 2 of us, but you're just trying to get to the end of the track.
It's hard. It's hard.
And Sauron gets us every time. It's brutal, but I love that. I really love that. And it's always like...
We would be the worst hobbits.
I know we would be. Well, I don't know. I could go for second breakfast.
That's true.
But every time you play, like what makes a really great cooperative game is you die and then you're like, oh, let's play it again. Let's give it another try. We almost got it. Oh, we were so close. Let's try again. And it's like that a lot with this game for us.
Hobbits must have high metabolism.
They must. Well, or they're chubby.
Yeah, that's true.
I'd make a great hobbit. So yes, that's my number 8. Lord of the Rings.
Very good choice.
2000.
Very good choice. I love that game. My number 8 is, what is it? This is a very asymmetrical war game, which is very unusual for me, but I love the theme. I was a big fan of the books going back in the day, and I haven't played this in a few years yet, but you haven't played it yet, but we have to play it, and that's Game of Thrones, the board game.
I really do want to play this.
This is a planning board game, so it's programming board game is what I want to say. So you program your moves in each territory that you're in, and then you flip them over, and then you go by player turn, and depending on what other people do, so you're trying to anticipate other people's moves. if you flip over, like if your plan is to attack, but then they move away from you, you can't, it's useless. So you got to think through your actions and make sure that they're going to be valuable no matter what the opponent does, but also make sure you can defend yourself from attacks and stuff like that. I really like the supply chain element of this game. It was one of the first games I experienced where supply chain was really important.
Yep.
And I really appreciated that because I felt like that's a more important part of things than people appreciate than maybe some classic games like Risk obviously pay no attention to that kind of thing. Right. So anyway, that's my number 8 is a classic game about
not Lord of the Rings.
About a Game of Thrones. So if you're into the Game of Thrones universe and you're okay with war games, I highly recommend this because it is, I think, one of the better war games that I've played. Now, I don't play a lot of war games, so there is that. I did in the past, though, play a few. So
we should definitely make time to play that this summer. I'd love to learn.
Yep. I think,
right.
you know, you just have to be okay with the fact that you might get your butt kicked. I mean, not you specifically.
Well, dear.
I mean, when you play a war game.
Yeah, no, I know. I'm probably going to get my butt kicked.
It's cutthroat. I didn't mean you at all.
I
mean you. No, I'm just kidding.
All right. Well, my number 7 is a crossover. I think there's going to be a lot of crossovers, although it is not 100% crossovers, obviously. And that is Carcassonne.
Okay.
From the year 2000. The original Carcassonne was 2000. I love this game so much. It is just, it's addictive. Like you said, it's so intuitive. You can teach it to anybody. Everybody loves it. I've never met anybody that's like, nah, I don't like that game. Some people are like, yeah, I like it. It's not my favorite, but nobody hates it. Well, I mean,
there
if you
are
hate
a few out there, but yeah.
Probably. Everybody, somebody hates everything. Anyway, and I agree that the city is the best version, but I think that we've played.
Yeah.
I still think that the winter edition, which is the one you got for me, is probably my favorite because even though I think I kind of like the city version best, but this is where it gets weird. It's so easy to get Discovery on the table. It takes no thinking. Not
Discovery, but Winter Edition.
Winter Edition.
We had Discovery too.
Yeah. I could just play it, you know, without thinking about it. Just pull it out of the box, throw it on the table. We're good to go. Don't need to check rules. Don't need to do anything. Super easy. I love that about it. And that's part of what makes it really enjoyable is it is a always accessible, easy game to play, you know, and actually when you were sick but getting a little bit better, we're like, well, we could maybe sit at the table, we could throw Carcassonne on the table and get it done in 20 minutes, and then we played a table game. And so
it's a great introductory game for new players too.
So I really love that about it. I agree, the city's a better game. I think I like it better, but I don't know. Carcassonne, just straight up Carcassonne.
Yep.
Can't beat it.
It's pretty sweet. It hits the sweet spot.
Apparently you can beat it though, because it's only number 7 on my list for 2000. So
that's fair.
All right.
Well, my number 7 is another classic tile-laying game. This one is from Durkheim, and it is Alhambra. So Alhambra is from Queen Games, and it is a really cool tile-laying game. It has wall building. Not as cool wall building as Carcassonne City, but I like the choices in Alhambra a lot.
Yeah.
There's the collecting money, and it gets a little bit automatic, like how I make my choices. Like, oh, this is available, and this is available, so I'm going to do this, that, and that. It kind of becomes somewhat obvious, but I still enjoy it. But I feel like the same about St. Petersburg.
We do have the big box, and we had fun starting to go through the expansions in the Alhambra big box. There were some really cool additions in there. The Falconers edition, I remember, I really like just because I like Falcons. But yeah, this is a crossover, actually, my number 6.
Okay.
Is Alhambra, so I'm just going to jump right in and start talking to. And it's from 2003, so it's another really early one. Again, I agree. I love the tile laying. You're not building out patterns as much as you are. It doesn't matter, like adjacency to what doesn't matter as much, although there is the wall aspect you need to be thinking about. But you're building out this beautiful, like, Alhambra, right? Your estate. Yeah. And you can see it take shape before your eyes, and you're growing your wall around it. And I really like the fact that the cards are the money. It has that thing, though, that Ticket to Ride has, that sometimes you're just like, I'll take some money. I'll take some money. I'll take some money. You're taking cards and building up your hand and getting ready to explode on the scene and buy everything. But
it's kind of neat in this game because you can buy multiple in a turn if you're able to make perfect change. Yeah. So if that money building strategy can really work and pay off because you have a different denominations. Then you can go exact change, and buy like 3 in a turn buildings. And, I will say also, the only thing I don't like about the game is, well, first of all, I really like the puzzling nature that the scoring creates. But that does create a difficult situation with 2 players. And you end up with an AI. And we call him Dirk the Jerk. Dirk the Jerk. Because he's always taking the tiles we want and messing with our scores. But anyway.
Well, and the other thing is, with a human, you can predict what they're going to take, right? I can look at your Alhambra and I can know that, you're most likely not going to take that red building I need because it just doesn't make sense for you. But Dirk just randomly takes whatever, the jerk. And so that's kind of frustrating. It's hard to kind of guess what's going to happen. But there's a really great implementation of BGA, so we can play with multiple people.
So we've been playing it with our friends online, and it's fun.
But I am so excited to explore more from the Mega Box.
Yeah, because we've played a few of the expansions in the Mega Box, but we haven't played most of them. So we still have a lot to explore, and those expansions help add variability to the game and stuff, and that's really fun.
Yep. So that is my number 6.
My number 7, Alhambra.
What's your number 6?
All right, my number 6. What is my number 6? Turn the page. My number 6 is another game. Hold on. I've got to double check something. Also from Durkan. Ooh, Wallenstein. First of all, Cube Tower. Beautiful. What a great invention. The Cube Tower in Wallenstein is pretty cool. You drop cubes in the tower, but only some of them come out. And so then as you drop more cubes in the tower, and the cubes like represent your armies, or in one case, peasants who might revolt, the cubes will drop out of the tower, be knocked out. Well, the new cubes will knock the old cubes out of the tower and sometimes get stuck themselves. And you never know what's going to come out of the tower. But you know this, that if you threw 4 cubes in the tower and only 2 came out, the next time you have an attack, the odds are that you're going to have more come out. And so instead of like dice where it's like all or nothing, and you might have a bad streak of bad dice, bad dice, bad dice, with the Cube Tower, you might have a bad drop, maybe a second bad drop, but by then you're going to have a good drop because the ones that got stuck earlier are going to come out.
Yeah, it's a very clever, sort of not entirely random randomization.
Yeah.
Was this the first Cube Tower?
It might have been.
This predates Amerigo, right? Yeah, it does, because Amerigo's not on the list. Yeah. For some reason, I must have logged a different version of this game because it doesn't say, like, it doesn't show up with me having any plays. Oh. And I sorted by plays. I still don't think this would have made my top 10, but it probably would have been in my honorable mentions.
Yeah, and the other thing I would like to say about it, we've already talked about how we don't really love combat on combat. And for a war game, this one, the combat is less of the game. It's still there. There's still a combat factor. And you have to, well, I'll talk about that in a sec. But so the big part of the game is just about, you have to feed your people. You have to collect resources. You want to put down buildings. And then the combat is part of it. But it's a smaller part. So for a war game, it's more manageable. And I really love the mechanism of the peasant revolts. The peasant revolts are, if you're not feeding your people well enough and stuff like that, the peasants will revolt. And that's trouble.
Yeah. But also, like you said, with the cube tower, if we're warring and we put all of our cubes in the tower and you win because more of yours come out, mine might be stuck in the tower, which means on the next roll, I have an advantage, or the next drop, I have an advantage. So that is, again, it's sort of mitigating the pain of the loss. I like this game. I don't mind the warring, and it doesn't feel so aggressive like Risk does. To me, I don't like Risk, and I've enjoyed our plays of Wallenstein.
Yeah, it's a good game. So that's my number 6, Wallenstein.
All right. Well, my number 5 is Pandemic.
Crossover!
Is that your number 5
my
too?
number 5 is Pandemic.
Perfect crossover. Now,
right.
I think probably if we did versions, they would not necessarily be in the 2010s if we picked our favorite Pandemic, and but the whole system is my favorite. I do like Iberia is my favorite of the whole system, and I know you like Rising Tide.
Yeah, which is a 2017 version, but the original Pandemic came out in 2000 what?
7.
Okay.
2008. But it's the Pandemic system that I like. I think that those are just different implementations. I love the Pandemic system.
Yeah.
I love that cooperative. To me, this is the quintessential cooperative experience. I love this. This is what I want in a game. It's hard. You know, you don't win every time. You're really fighting. You're working together. Start slow, and you're like, oh, this is cool. We're doing great. And suddenly, like, what? Everything blows up, and you're like, what the hell just happened? Oh my God. And you're trying to like work together. And a lot of times we've won. It's just been like snuck in under the wire just before we completely die on the last turn. And it's really fun. It's really enjoyable.
Yeah, it's really enjoyable. It's very puzzly. I think it's a little susceptible to alpha players. Yeah. Who can sort of be like, no, you got to do this. You got to do that. We got to do that. You know, and that kind of thing. That's a little bit annoying. I want to really badly. I've liked all the versions. I think the original theme does not appeal to me as much. Even before the Pandemic, it didn't appeal to me much. There's one reason why the Rising Tide I like more, because I think the theme a little more.
That's why I like Iberia. I mean, you're still fighting disease, but it's like historic, and you're cleaning water for people and building railways. And
that was a big way you fought disease early on, was like through sanitation control, which of course a lot of communities didn't have. Up to a point, you know. Yeah. So, but another thing is some of the adaptability of the system. So you can have Rising Tide, you can have Iberia, you can have Star Wars, you can have Fall of Rome, you can have all these things, and they all work.
Yeah, I will say that the mechanism is, I think, matched really well to pandemics, right? To disease control, because you know, you've got these, you pull your 10 cities at the beginning, and those are the ones where the disease exists, right? And then you play and you try to mitigate it and cure it and whatnot, but sooner or later there's going to be you know, a reinfection, and what you're going to do is you're going to shuffle those back in, and you're going to start drawing again. And so it grows quicker. Like you don't get any new, you don't shuffle them back in, you shuffle those cards, and they stay on the top, right? Now I see it. Now I can't remember.
Yeah, they go back on top. Yeah. Yeah,
right. They go back on top. And the first time I played, like, well, why? But it makes sense, because the disease isn't going to be random. It's going to grow where it already was, and it's going to spread next door. And there will be, in fact, one city across the globe where it shows up because somebody was careless and they're traveling. But in general, it's going to make sense. It's going to proliferate where it started, and it works. The mechanisms of the game make sense to the theme, and I was blown away. I think if you're in the gaming industry or hobby, and you play a lot of games, and you've played Pandemic and you've known it forever, and it's been around, it's easy to forget how clever that matches. That mechanism and that theme are perfect together. Yeah, it's very elegant.
No, it's very well done, and I also think it spawned some of the best legacy games, although we've never made it through one. We were playing Pandemic Legacy Season 1 with our daughter, and she kind of quit halfway through. So that's...
As they do.
As they do. And anyway, so I'm really looking forward to someday getting that back to the table.
Yeah, we got to figure that out. We got to just either buy a new one or just make a decision and do it.
Yep, we just got to do it. So that's my number 5. And your number 5?
Crossover.
Pandemic.
Ooh. Well, my number 4 hasn't been on your list so far, and I expect it is coming, is Ticket to Ride.
Okay, good choice.
Ticket to Ride is a 2004 game. For a long time, I would have said Europe was my absolute favorite, but I've been playing the standard base game on BGA a lot, and I've gained an appreciation for it. My favorite probably still is the Nordic countries, but I love this game. It's simple, it's easy. Most people, when you introduce it to them, they get the concept, they like it. You know, you're matching colors, you're building trains, right? You're trying to complete routes. Super easy, but it's just, it works. It's super satisfying. We're not super aggressive, so we try not to get in each other's way too much, although sometimes you do. There's not a lot of negativity in our gaming. I like that. Sometimes you're hurrying, you got to get that one route. There's like Las Vegas is a pain in the butt to get to, right? There's one way in, one way out. But in general, it's an easy system, and it's so adaptable to so many different places, and each new version brings something new to it and exciting.
So much variability with all the different maps.
Love Pennsylvania with the stocks. Love the Great Britain and Ireland version. Love the Japan, the Asia one with their shared routes, which that's really cool. The ferries. I mean, it's just it's a wonderful system, and I love it.
Yep, it's a great game.
And we have many copies, and I will tell you what, we're not getting rid of any of them. I want them all. Each one's different. Like Carcassonne, we can pare down. We're not paring down our Ticket to Ride. Yeah.
All right, good choice. My number 4 is a crossover, but not with Ticket to Ride. It is a crossover with Lord of the Rings.
Oh.
From Reiner Knizia.
I thought this might be your number 1. Okay.
Okay. And no, not my number 1, but I do like it a lot. For one, you can't really alpha play this game. It's a cooperative game. It was the first cooperative game I played, and it blew my mind. It was 2000 when it came out. I saw it in a mall bookshop in Merle, Pennsylvania, where I was living at the time. I was just like a big Lord of the Rings fan, so I was like, I have to have that. And I also was like looking for modern board games, but didn't know where to find them at the time. So just finding that to me was a great find. Yeah. And I didn't know who Reiner Knizia was. I didn't know he was this amazing designer. And yeah, I mean, it blew my mind. I think there's a couple of things about this game that are very unique for cooperative games still. I think the linear gameplay is very unique. The way you play through these scenarios and move through them, you don't see that a lot. You see a lot of the Pandemic kind of style now being played, and I think this is a harder one to design and balance, but it's just, it works so well.
It does, and it kind of makes sense for the Lord of the Rings. You're like moving towards an objective, right? It is linear, but it does, when I first saw it, I thought, well, that doesn't look, I mean, it's a line, right? It's, how is that not sort of roll and move or whatever? But it works. And you're right. He does a really good job, or did a really good job of making sure that this linear movement, you're moving from point A to point Z, was interesting, was challenging. There's a lot of decisions to be made.
And you feel tense. Like you're moving through the different areas. I'm moving through Moria. I'm moving through, you know, you're moving through the different areas. And Sauron's coming at you, and you're on the darkness track, and that kind of has been replicated like a darkness track kind of thing. And but I think the linear movement through is not seen a lot. Yeah. And I really like that. I love how you go from board to board, and I just like that a lot. And then this has a nostalgic part for me because it was my first cooperative game, and I do love the theme. I love Lord of the Rings, and you know, it's not perfect, but you know, what is? So,
well, also calling out something else unique about it is you played this a lot solo. And I don't know whether it was intentionally had a solo mode or whether it just lent itself.
I just would play 2 hobbits.
Right.
As if I was playing 2-player.
But that's something that you didn't see, that ability to play something solo and have it still work for a long time.
Yeah, and I lived out in the woods, out deep country at the time, so I had a lot of time on my own. So, yeah. Anyway, that's my number 4, a crossover. I think it was your 7 or something. Lord of the Rings. Yep. The board game from Reiner Knizia, year 2000.
All right, my number 3, I cannot believe was in your honorable mentions, not in your higher. What? And that is St. Petersburg. Yep. It is my number 3.
Wow.
It's from 2004. You
it's
introduced
addictive.
It to me.
It's very fun.
Yeah, you introduced it to me. You'd been playing it online.
I have a good top 10, though.
Yeah, really good top 10. I have a really good top 10, too.
I know.
So I love this game. You're building your tableau in front of you. I'm suddenly blanking on it. I need to play another game. Oh, right. So you're going through, like, there's 4 different phases. Yeah. What you do depends, and what scores depends on which phase you're in, which is really clever. And so, like, that last turn, you know, once you're past the coin phase, you know, spending any money to buy anything with that gives you
like
coins.
The first phase, you're collecting laborers, and they give you income. The second phase, you're collecting buildings, and they give you points. The third phase, you're collecting aristocrats, and they give you both points and income. And there's a special set collection scoring for aristocrats. And then the last phase are special cards. That's neat.
Yeah, and I think it's really neat, too, that sort of like towards the end of the game, you know, buying something that gives you points, unless it gives you a lot of points, isn't going to be necessarily as lucrative as making sure you get that aristocrat set up and running. But getting a point score early, there's that tension. Do I need coin? Do I need points? Like, how do I do that? And I've been in a couple games online where it looked like somebody was beating me because they had so many points early on, but I got all the aristocrats.
Right.
And I was able to, with that and a couple of large scoring buildings in the middle of it, was able to come in and win the game.
Or they had no income, so they had all these points early, but they couldn't sustain it because they didn't have enough income.
Yeah, so I really love this game. It's addictive. It's really interesting. Again, because I'm playing it on BGA, we've played it on the tabletop, but most of my plays have been on BGA. It's also super easy to get to the table, and it feels, you know, there's low overhead.
Is it on BGA or is it in Incada, or is it on both?
It's on BGA.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It might be on both, but I
think it might be on both. Yeah. I've played a lot in Incada, at least in the past. So I'm not sure if it's still there.
Yeah. No, I've been playing it on BGA. If we were talking tabletop, there's more overhead. It might be slightly lower.
There is, but it's still fun.
I mean, I think I would still love it, but because I've been able to play it on BGA and get it to the table a lot, it means it's, you know, I've played it, you know, 25 times. You've played it 71 times.
In some ways, the tabletop is nice because it's a tableau builder, right? So you're buying this labor, you're putting it in front of you, and you got all this. Your tableau gets really nice and luscious.
Yeah.
So.
All right. Well, that's my number 3.
All right. Well, my number 3. What is my number 3? My number 3 is a crossover with your number 4, Ticket to Ride. Yes. So Ticket to Ride is a classic game. You already covered a lot of this. Love the variability from all the different maps, all the different... I love how it has a core, very simple core base of rules. And each map has a little twist on that, but it's just a little twist. So it's very easy to go from map to map to map. And so we'll do a whole weekend. We'll play nothing but Ticket to Ride. And we'll do that like once a year.
All the versions, yeah.
And it's totally doable because there's not that much rule upkeep between different versions. I will say this, I don't like the small version so much because one thing I like about the large versions is that they do last and they are this immersive experience. I feel like the small versions go too quickly.
I agree.
And then there's some cool things. People are huge fans of this game. There's a cool map making tool. You can go and make a map, a Ticket to Ride map of any place in the world and play that.
Yeah, there's a North Pole Christmas version that that a fan made that we want to print out and get made for Christmas. We were moving this year, so we didn't do it, but next year.
Yep. So that's the different things. And we were working with a friend right now. They're making a Puerto Rico one. Based on that engine. So that's pretty cool. And so we'll test that out and let you know how it goes.
Yeah.
So anyway, my number 3, and you've already talked about it a lot, so I won't say more, but that's Ticket to Ride.
I feel like our 1 and 2s are going to be crossovers. The only question is, are they going to be same number crossovers, or are we going to invert them? Or are you going to totally surprise me and make me angry by not having one of these games on your list?
Okay. I think they might be crossovers. Let's find out.
We'll find out. Okay.
A lot of crossovers on this list.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So my number 2 is, and probably depends on when you ask me, but my number 2 is Notre Dame from Stefan Feld.
Crossover.
Okay. All right.
Number 2 is Notre Dame from Stefan Feld. And
technically it's also Notre Dame.
Yep. Technically as well. I think it's funny. People talk a lot about Architects of the West Kingdom because of its unique thing where you put a meeple in a space and then you go there again and you get more. This game did it first.
This game did it first.
100%.
2007, Notre Dame did it first.
Yep. And it is the core mechanism. If you have 3 workers there and you set another, well, they're cubes in this game, another cube there, you get, instead of getting 1 coin, you get 4 coins.
Yep. And it's a beautiful game. I'm kidding.
It's really not.
It's a typical Stefan Feld production. It is not.
One of my notes right here is this needs a deluxe version.
It does.
100% needs a deluxe version. It is such a great game. It is one of our most played midweight games.
111 plays for me.
Yep. So we play this a lot.
A lot.
We have reasons.
But we love it. I love this game. And like, partially because we've played it so much, but it's real snappy.
But it's also the mechanisms. Yeah. We like card drafting. It's kind of worker placement, action selection. We like that as the mechanism.
Oh, yeah. Oh, no, I know. I'm just saying, like, it's quick for us. We can knock out 3 games of this in an hour. It's about 20 minutes per game, give or take. It's usually give. It's less than 25 minutes a game for us.
And if we played 1 game at a time, I don't think I would like it as much. But we play 3 at a time.
I agree, because also, like,
because it's too quick.
It's too quick.
For 1 game.
I think you're right. But we go through, we shuffle the card decks, and there's enough cards that if you play each one once, you can play 3 times. And so that's what we do, is we make 3 decks and we play that way. And you've got like AJ, HB, and HC cards, or round or whatever. 3 of each, so 9 rounds in a game. And there's a lot of variability in the way those cards come out, and the games are different every time based on kind of how you end up, you know, what cards, what helpers are out there and the order your cards come out in. And we found there's different strategies. I'm still finding different strategies to play after 111 games.
It's great mechanisms. It's card drafting, it's worker placement. I mean, these are just great mechanisms. I mean, I can go, you know, it's well designed. It's a very tight game. Stefan Feld is a really good designer.
Stefan Feld,
and this is one of his best. And I really, well, I don't know. He's got so many good ones. But anyway, you get the idea.
This one has, for a number of reasons, is special to us. I mean, it's probably not my favorite Stefan Feld game. I know it's not, because we did our top 10.
Yeah.
But it is just such a fabulous game. I love this game so much.
Yep.
Play it any day.
That is our number 2.
All right. Do you want to announce our number 1?
Well, go ahead.
Okay. I assume we have a crossover.
If we don't. I'm just kidding. I think we do.
Okay. Is the 2007 Uwe Rosenberg game Agricola.
Yep. Although I specifically noted Farmers of the Moor.
Yeah, Farmers of the Moor does make it better.
And that is the expansion that adds peat farming and also adds other ways to get like wood and stuff. And
it's not so tight.
It's a little less tight, although it comes up with other ways to punish you, but in a way that makes it a little more friendly-ish.
Yeah.
It's neat. It works really well. I really like it with Farmers of the Moor. It's more depth too. This
is my gateway game. This is the game I played. We played other games, including Ticket to Ride, which I did not like. We had too many people. And I was just like, whatever, board games are fine. And we played this and I was like, what? I can be a medieval farmer. I can build a stone hearth and maybe even upgrade that into something better. And I can have sheep in my fields and build a house. Oh,
I love the fact that the theme to this game is everyday life.
I do too. This is everything. The book that I read that turned me into a historian was Good Wives by Laurel Thatcher Ulrich. And it was just about the daily life of women in colonial America, and how they contributed to the economy and how they were part of, like, it was a partnership. I loved that book. And this is the equivalent of that book for me. It just, like, it was a historical text. Those are dry and boring. And I read this like it was my favorite novel. And that's what this does to me, is I'm so interested in the everyday and how different people in different times and in different places live their life. You know, that just to me is fascinating. And that's this board game. It is, and it's so well designed. Uwe is a wonderful designer. You know, you got to feed your people. Everybody jokes about how punishing it is, but you got to feed your people. That was what was so hard. Like that's the point of medieval farming. You got to make sure people don't die. You got to feed them. So this game is everything.
Yeah, I think it's such a great game. It's such a tight design. And I know some people like Caverna better, and that's not a 2009 game, I don't believe. So, you know, I haven't played Caverna, so I can't talk about that.
I've played it online, and I barely knew what I was doing.
I did play it once online, and I didn't know what I was doing.
I'd like to actually get, I'd really like to get Caverna. I want to get
it's kind of on our wish list. So one thing we're going to do at some point this year is an Uwe Fest. And we're going to play
Uwe-palooza.
Uwe-palooza. Sorry, did I say the wrong? I said the wrong festival name. So that's coming up. We have a few unplayed. I was just seeing that Susan from Tea and Games just played Fields of Arle.
Oh.
So, and she enjoyed it. I cannot wait to play it. We've never played it.
We have to get Caverna, and then we can do our Uwe-palooza.
Yep.
We'll do that in August for my birthday.
Okay, you want to put it off that far? Okay.
No. I don't know.
We'll look at our schedule. And we'll let you know, because after we do Uwe-palooza, we'll do a Uwe top 10.
Yep.
Like we did for Stefan Feld. Yes,
we will.
All right, everyone. Thanks for watching. That was our top 10, 2000-2009.
Let us know what your favorites are.
Yeah, please do. It's, you know, this is sort of the, you know, 1990s really started the modern board gaming, but there wasn't a whole lot. The 2000s, it started to pick up, and it really takes off in the next video. Yeah. The 2010s, it just takes off.
Well, here, I think you see the foundation. I think you see the foundation of what we think of as board gaming today. You see the mechanisms coming in. You see things like co-op board games, you know, worker placement starts to be a mechanism that's used a lot.
Deck building started in the 2009.
Yeah,
Didn't make our list, but Dominion's just not my favorite.
I really like Dominion, but yeah, I haven't played it enough.
I like it too. It's not in my top, you know.
Yeah. But yeah, so that's our list. Tell us what you like from this era, and we'll see you for the next one.
All right. Remember, everyone,
every day that you game
is a holiday.